everybody, Zee Garcia here, and welcome back to another Unsung Gems. This is for the letter E. I'm going to be talking about 5 games today that I think are neat little games. Not perfect games, but they don't get nearly enough love, and they all begin with the letter E. If you haven't seen the rest of the series, of course, go back and check out all the letters up to A, and then stick around so you can see the rest of the list as I finish out this series of Unsung Gems. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and kick it off with the first one. My first pick is a trick-taking game, which I believe is pronounced Eebs or Eebies. I'm not sure. And this is a neat, very indie trick-taking game in which at the beginning of the hand, you're not even sure what the trump suit is going to be. You're not sure what's scoring positive points. You're not sure what's scoring negative points. And as you play out the hand, those things will be determined. You flip over a number card that isn't part of the deck. And let's say it shows 6. And then you play. You lead a card, people follow suit, the same usual trick-taking things, but then the first 6 that shows up, that's the color of the trump suit. The next 6 that shows up is going to be positive points. Every one of those cards is worth a point for every one you took. And then you determine negative points and things like that in the game. So it's a very neat concept. It's a clever idea of you sort of deciding what you're going for, what you want to achieve during the game. If you've got a lot of the number that got flipped up, then you can definitely control that pace. If not, you're sort of being careful and waiting it out sometimes. So I really enjoyed it. Eebs or Eebies is a really neat, interesting trick-taking game. Next up, I'm going to be talking about a game called Echo, which is a overproduced, it's very much an overproduced, lovingly gorgeous, and again, the quality is just superb, but it's basically an abstract game. At the beginning, you are going to have, you make up this board with these hexagons, and you are going to be moving your pieces, which represent these sort of fantastical, ethereal armies, capturing different locations and taking over space on the board. You are going to be having different stacks, and they have various powers, but they loop around. So a 3 beats a 2 stack, and you can go over there and take that, but then a 1 can take out a 4 stack. So again, it's cyclical. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful game. It looks amazing and engaging on the table. It's quite thinky. It's got a decent amount going on for it being really an area, sort of like, an area control-ish sort of abstract game. There's a lot of rules to it. So that might, if you come in with the mentality of strategy games or abstract strategy games are usually deep, but rules light. This one isn't that rules light. There's a decent amount happening. But I think the aesthetics and the clever tactical moves you can make on the board, because you can take a stack and move it to another stack next to it. But if there's empty spaces, you can travel through empty spaces. So a stack way over here, if there's an empty path, because some things have been taken, can travel across the board, bam, and hit something. So I really like it. It's very gorgeous, a big box game, like a Ticket to Ride sized box. And if you're a fan of that, this is a game that feels like if it came out right now, would do very well, because these kinds of looks for games are quite popular right now. So, yeah, if you're looking for an interesting abstract game, it's got a big footprint and has an interesting amount of tactics going on, then Echo is an interesting one to pick up. Next up, we've got an oldie here. This is a game called Emerald. And Emerald has the players representing knights or adventurers going into a dragon's lair and picking up treasure. You are going to be moving your knights. It's a clever moving mechanism in which you'll move 2 knights on your turn. You have several. And then, so you pick one, and then as many pawns as are in that space is how many spaces forward you move. So if the players clump up, someone's going to jump out of there. There's 4 there, you move up 4. But the next person to leave that space now only moves 3. So very cool system. And then as you traverse through the inside of this cavern, a little dragon meeple, a gorgeous wood meeple, is going to be sort of traveling back and forth, and you roll a die for the dragon. If it lands on you, then you have to bribe it with some of the gold you've been stealing. Make it out the other end, count up your score, and see how well you did. Every one of the spaces in the cavern has a deck of cards above and below it. And when you land there, you can take either one of those two cards. There's gems, there's gold, you get bonuses for collecting all 4 different gems. So it's kind of a family weight game. It's got some luck, certainly, but it's fun, and it's got that tension of, oh boy, I'm in the cave with the dragon. Let me roll the die, and if I get a 3, he lands on me. If he gets to the end and turns back around, he might also land on me. So that push your luck, or, it's really more of a just luck, see what happens, sort of, risk it all. And you have to make sure you have something to give the dragon so he leaves you alone, right? I really enjoy it. It's a pretty game. Again, it's a family weight game. And it's from the early 2000s, I believe. One that is now probably long gone. But if you ever see it, especially if you see it on the cheap, I would definitely recommend you give it a go. I think it's going to go over well with a mixed age group. This is one that, parents can play with their kids, or you can just play with gamers and non-gamers together, and everybody's going to enjoy it as a light, fun, crazy, scary activity. So there you go. That is Emerald. All right, up next is the newest game on the list here, and I was very surprised when I saw on Board Game Geek how many folks had rated this game, because it was quite a low number, and I thought this was more popular than apparently it is. This is a game called Endangered. It's got this gorgeous tiger on the cover. And it's a cooperative game in which you are, trying to save an animal species. You are going to be rolling dice. You're going to be assigning those dice to certain actions. But those actions are built by the players themselves. You play a character, and that character can do various things. You might be an environmentalist. You might be someone who is a celebrity and publicizes the fight to help these animals. And so your cards, as you play them out, become new worker placement spots, and your dice are your workers. So you activate things and try to save the animals, keep things from overflowing, keep the animals from falling too low in their numbers, and just ultimately attempt to win. There's also a really clever and interesting set of goals in the game, and you have to complete a number of them. You're not quite sure at the beginning of the game which things you are going to do in order to win. So that evolves throughout the game as well as the players plan and figure out, we might be able to achieve this one thing, so we should focus on that. Okay, great, that's off the list. What's next? What can we achieve of these that are up here? So I definitely would recommend it. It's again, a fairly new game. You should be able to find it. I know there was some expansion content that came to Kickstarter for it. So I definitely think it's the kind of co-op game that feels different enough from many other co-op games that it deserves more attention and maybe even a place in your collection. So Endangered, check that one out. And for my last pick of today, I'm talking about a little 2-player card game called Expedition Altiplano. And this is an early game from the same designer who did Inish, Christian Martinez. And he has an interesting way of putting games together. If you've ever played Inish, you know that it's sort of a quirky game. It's got some esoteric things going on in the way it plays out and the way you score and try to win. Well, this one is sort of very Indiana Jones-esque. You are going to be managing quite a bit in the game. You have cards, you have characters, you are going to be gathering relics, which is what you're attempting to do ultimately, trying not to have them stolen from you. The game's a little overwrought, might be the word. I could definitely see it. If it came out today, this game would take some streamlining, right? But it's an interesting, immersive little package of just a little board in between the two players and a handful of cards. And what you can do, the sort of emotions that come with the game are very interesting. The game, again, could be a little bit better, but it's lovingly illustrated. It's got its own flavor, its own look, its own style. And it's one that I have fond memories of. Again, it's certainly not one of my favorite games, but it's its own thing. And that's kind of what I like about these Unsung Gems, is that oftentimes they're their own thing. They're not for everybody, but there's something about them that makes you go, I respect that, that's unique, that's interesting. So there you go, everybody. That's going to do it for me for Unsung Gems, starting with the letter E. Let me know in the comments below, of course, if you have any that begin with the letter E that are some of your favorites that you think deserve more attention. And stick around, of course, for, like I said, the rest of the series here. But other than that, we're going to wrap it up. My name is Zee Garcia. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.